going. Hello everybody, here's Mr. C. Today is Tuesday, April 5th, and this is biology tutoring time. Today we're going to do a little bit earlier than normally a review of the lab, basically. Where is my pen here? I need some color, Mr. Z. Let me get some color here in my life. Here we go. We're going to look over basically this lab 313, 315, and I hope to actually get through the part 1, which is what we can do today. But also I want to start out with looking over some key terms for Unit 3. That's something I picked up from my physics instruction, you know, an idea that came along, and so I want to actually give you these key terms, and so you have them ready when you work on the Unit 3 lab. I then do a presentation. We have some good material there for the lab, but I want to be done with both of these in about 30 minutes. And if you listen to this as a recording and you're only interested in a demo of the lab, that's what we're going to spend the 30 minutes on, where I sent you the lab, I sent you the link. I want you to set it up, basically. For those of you who are here, for those of you who listen to a recording, at least you know how to set it up, and then you need to take a break 48 hours. That is the hard part. But we'll get to that. So if you have any questions, chat box is open, and I can watch that anytime. Where are we in the game, though? I'll paste here briefly. I just grabbed the planner in the game, in the lessons. So today is Tuesday the 5th, and here's this lab. It's a 2-day lab. It's kind of unique because normally 2-day labs have 2 numbers, like you would expect it, lesson 313 and 314. It's a special 2-day lab because it extends over actually 3 days. It starts here with 313, and it finishes 2 days later, 48 hours later here. And to reduce the confusion, I just go with the name for the first day. Okay, so we write the lab report, and the Dropbox is under 313, and both lessons are available. 315 just says finish the work and drop it off, right? But you need these 48 hours. I'm going to keep on repeating this in between the 2 days, so kind of special lab. But that gives us rounded. And then we have this lab. We have a couple more lessons. I think next Wednesday is when we have the unit test, right? No questions so far, not even in German. So key terms. I use key terms in physics too, and so I was listening to a peer's tutoring session, and he showed actually the key terms, and he offered to give the students the terms right there. And I said, well, you know, I have them. They can go on the student resources, on the keywords, and they're all listed there. But boy, it takes a long time to go there, right? So, okay, my idea was, hey, why don't I go there for you and just make it once and for all and send it to you? And that's what will happen now. For those of you who are here, you get the file transfer now. If I have it and find it on my desktop, the Unit 3 key terms. All right, it's coming right your way. So save that in your Unit 3 folder and have that handy, because yes, you know, when we answer questions, we're not just answering yes or no. I usually ask you to explain things, right? Explain. And when you explain things, you are using the key terms. And so another thing I also saw that this list is not comprehensive, right? You can add terms, and we probably should add one for the lab today. I haven't seen this word in there that we use heavy in the lab called pepsin. Does anybody know what pepsin is? Anybody do the lessons already, Michael? Remember pepsin? Bonita? That's not in there, but we use that in the lab. That's an honest answer. How about Nita? Pepsin. It's not Pepsi. Nothing to do with that. Pepsin. Just a good way to remember it. Nita, have you heard the word pepsin? Don't see Nita talking to me. Nita! I'll give it a try later, maybe. Sounds like heartburn medicine. You're not too far away. Let's put it into the stomach and make it an enzyme out of it. And let's put it this way. When we need it, we bring up this Word document, the Unit 3 key terms, and we add it there. Here it is. I know you're awake. Nita, does pepsin ring a bell? Oh, you were saving your document. Watch out, you're capitalized. You're screaming at me. Don't do that. Coming back, do you know what pepsin is? Nita, have you heard it? I don't know. Have you heard of it? And it's one of these words that I want you guys to add to this folder, to this file, basically. And when you then answer questions in the lab, it will be mighty useful. Now let's go on. Now, normally I would create slides, but there were nice slides already created for that lab. So I'm going to go through those, but I want to watch the clock, right? In 20 minutes, it's going to be a little bit faster through. I'm not filling the whole hour up with the slides, but my idea is the following. First, you watch. We go through this presentation and we get out of it as much as we can. Then we actually going to do the lab, at least the first part. Now, not having seen this will be mighty helpful, okay? So instead of not knowing what's coming, this will help us the next 20 or so slides. We go fast, okay? 20 or so slides will help you get an idea. The purpose is not to do stop every time and then you do it. The purpose is give you an overview. Are we clear on that? You can ask questions. I will ask you questions, but we're not doing a, hey, you know. All right, so we are in this lab about human digestion, which fits well. You did the lessons. And let me send you the files. You guys are here, so you want to get going. Have you downloaded them actually, Michael or Nita? And actually, it's only one file. We're very nice to use. The instructions and the lab is one, once and for all. How about that one? I think it's a huge improvement. As usual, this has the rubrics as on the side as comments, and it has instructions. Once we get there, we'll go through it. Okay. So Nita, save that in your Unit 3 folder too. Okay. Ever wonder how your stomach digests eggs? Is that really a question you ever wonder? Are you guys liking eggs? Do you guys eat eggs? Yeah. I love eggs. Michael, how do you like eggs? Like this or hard-boiled? I've never eaten eggs like this. Scrambled. Okay, this guy maybe. That's scrambled. And Nita, not yet. Oh, that's the previous answer. At 1:30. So you're going to watch the lab demo then later, but you get a good idea out of it, right? And that's, of course, our Easter egg. Bottom line is we like to eat them, and somehow we need to digest them. What's in the egg that what the body really likes? What is egg made of? Let's focus on the white stuff. What's the white stuff made of? What do we like? I like the white stuff more than the yellow one, but yellow is the forgot. Okay, Nita. Michael hopefully has an answer. Egg gives you a lot of white stuff. All right, so that's why you guys are here. It's a source of proteins. Okay, egg is good for proteins. Okay, and we need carbohydrates as well as proteins, right, and fats and all the good stuff. There's core objectives. So anyhow, we eat the egg. He ate more than enough, don't you think? He ate an ostrich egg. So it has protein in there, and this is where the first stop is. After you chew it up, right, you make it smaller in your mouth, saliva comes in, and now it ends up in the stomach. And the stomach, we're going to simulate in our lab as test tubes. Okay, we're going to have basically test tubes here that simulate our stomach, and we're going to put egg in there. We're going to chop it up virtually and put it in there. And then what the stomach really has in there, and we're going to put that in there too, is various chemicals. One is the pepsin enzyme. So that's an enzyme. It's a catalyst for a reaction to happen, and it works on proteins. We also put in hydrochloric acid, which is, if you read the labels, you should never drink, okay? And you shouldn't drink hydrochloric acid when you eat lab. But it's the fact that our stomach has that acid there. We also use bicarbonate base. Does any you probably didn't do that yet? Yeah, it will make you disappear. So don't do that. Bicarbonate acid, as an explanation, it's happening at the end of the stomach where we need to neutralize that acid. And Looking at the pH, that's the concentration of hydrogen. H is hydrogen, right? P stands for pretty much, I don't know what it stands for. I haven't tried it out. That's the concentration of hydrogen. You know, is there a lot of hydrogen? We're going to have actually a lower number. Have you guys heard of the pH? Michael, Neda? pH? No, not potassium. P is not even for potassium. K would be for potassium. Okay, so pH. Do you guys know what pH is acid? What pH represents acid? Either test your common knowledge in ESMA. Thank you for joining. And you can chime in there too. We're just doing a presentation on the lab. I'm a bit behind already, but we are catching up. I had a pH imbalance a few years ago. So doctor told you that, right? But you don't remember much, and we're going to go over that. It has to do with acid. In short, if you have a pH of smaller than 7, so here's 7. If the pH is smaller than 7, anything here is acid. Acid. And anything bigger as acid. And anything bigger than 7 is a base. Okay, base. And we're going to analyze that a little bit. Base, we call it basic base. Okay. And so that's a little into the lab. Okay, so how do we get to the lab? First, we of course mush it up, right, and chew it up, and then in the stomach there are actually two processes happen. One is really physical. Your stomach is at work. It really never sleeps. If you get something in there, it starts crunching things, right? And that's one way of working on a substance to break it down. The other one is chemical, chemistry. Okay, and so here's our acid, HCl, and the pepsin, the enzyme. And you have this nice mastery map here. Here we are in our stomach. It got squeezed down the esophagus here. We finally make it in the stomach. It's a muscular sac-like organ. And I think stomach, someone check on the keyword list. I think stomach is there. So when you talk about stomach in the lab, please tell me that it's a sac-like organ and what its function is, right? And I'll let you read through here. It takes about 2 to 6 hours until things are really mushed finally. We have someone else joining now, 3 of us. And if you have questions, please stop me. I'm going a little faster now. But there's also the chemical action, and there's a lot of stuff here, right, that we just talked about. It has to do with, so we have chemical digestion. We have a blend of gastric juices that come in. The hydrochloric acid is the key there, and pepsin. Okay, so we're going to put in our test tube. We're going to put in a control. We're going to make a control one time. So we're going to put in water, H2O. And one time we're going to put in just pepsin. One time we're putting in just hydrochloric. One time we're putting in both. And one time we're putting sodium bicarbonate. You know, the fluid that, that is a base that neutralizes the acid. Okay? I think I can go on. So why doesn't the acid burn through your stomach? There's still a lining there, right, that covers the stomach. And if you have ever developed, and hopefully in your age not, what's called an ulcer, that's a breach of that stomach lining and causes kind of trouble, right? So, and then the bicarbonate also at the end neutralizes it. That's a base, like soap. Okay, so ignore that. I go by 313, but the bottom line is on a day 1, we're going to start the lab, and that's what we do today in the second 30 minutes. And then you have to wait 48 hours. You have to absolutely, the lab doesn't let you in. And the way it's controlled is with a password. So, and you need to actually write that code down. Record your code is very important. There's a separate field in the lab that asks you to write it down. Thank you, Michael, for explaining. Oh, that's a good question, Esma. When you use a key term, I want you, you can use the definition, but build it into a sentence. Okay. I see now more and more students writing me pepsin, for example, and then parentheses, And that I don't like that one. I know you can find the definition of pepsin somewhere, but I want to write you pepsin, which is, and you continue, right? And a lab is not a unit test. You can use definitions, okay? That helps you to learn. But going back to here, once the 48 hours are over, then you enter this code, and if you forget the code, there's no way to recover it, and you need to start over again. Tragedy happens. There's a little bit about the lab. We're going to bring it up in a second. We're going to fill up a bunch of test tubes with, what's the white stuff now? What do you think is the white stuff? Anybody pay attention to me? What do you think we put in there? What are we digesting in this lab? Egg, that's right. The white stuff is egg. So someone was nice to put some stoppers on the top, which you should be doing anyhow. It was in the meantime. So we put egg in all 6 test tubes, and then one time we put water, one time we put in whatever is written down there, right? We put on these things, and then we wait 48 hours, okay? And I transferred that already. Esma, did you get the lab report? Okay, yeah, the first one is the document, the second one is the lab. So, of course, I encourage you to do the tutorial. It will help you even more so. Then we'll begin the lab. And guess what? After the 48 hours, well, when you exit the lab, you get the code, and after 48 hours, you can enter the code. And again, don't send me a K-mail. I do not know how the code is. I can guess around. It's impossible to guess. It's like 16 something letters and digits. Okay, you have your own code here. Okay. So that gives us your feel. There's some more chemistry in the lab that we don't need. So we don't need the milk, and we don't need the lactase solution. So don't try to use everything we need there. It's a good hint. So here these are the test tubes before we fill them. Well, guess what? First we're going to put in egg everywhere. Egg goes everywhere. And then down here, well, we're going to put water in there. A certain amount of water goes in there. A certain amount of pepsin goes in there. A certain amount of acid goes in there. Base goes in there. Pepsin plus base and pepsin plus acid. And in short, your task is, after 48 hours, to find where did the white stuff that was all up here, right? In which of the test tube did it disappear? And that was so nice. Let me see if I find that screenshot, because it's hard to spot. So this is how the test tube looks when it's filled. You see the white stuff? Can you guys see that white stuff? Do you need to make it bigger? Here, barely visible. So you gotta get good eyes, okay? And then what you're looking for, so you have all looking like this. The white stuff is the egg white. What we're looking for is something like this guy. You guys see a difference on the right-hand side? I hope you say yes. Yes, good. And it's a subtle difference. I can tell you, students logging in and they're sending me a K-mail and say nothing has happened. Because from a big picture, you know, you look, it's a little white, less gone. That's what you're looking for, okay? So I'll give you another hint. Just one of the 6 tubes will show this phenomenon. Well, you know, Michael, that's an early conclusion, because we have acid here, we have acid there, you know, we have pepsin here, so pepsin plus base. So you probably, you know, you're starting to think, okay? You're not too far away. Let's see, 123. This is just, and the lab tells you what to do here. Is a nice table, okay, of what goes in each tube, but we just saw it, right? It said under the test tube, it says how much, what goes in there, and how much is basically the instructions tell us to do 10 milliliter of each. 10 milliliter means 4 droppers. This is a dropper is 2.5 milliliters. So if you need 10 of them, you need to, you know, make 4 times the dropper full and then put it in. So it's a bit of work. And we put 1 spoon of egg in there. This is an important thing. You can mess up the experiment if you don't rinse your graduated cylinder. And you don't need to rinse after water, because water was pure. But once you start filling in pepsin in here, then you probably need to go to the sink and wash it out. And then you fill it up with 10 milliliter hydrochloric, and you empty it out, and so on, so forth. Any questions? I know it's fast, but I think you should be able to do that. I'm waiting for a no. Any questions? Give me a no. I can do the check mark, but I can. Once in a while say no. Nope. Good. Because you always say yes, right? The question's always phrased that you say yes. Well, part of this exercise is to find out what pH each of our liquids has. And so we have these strips, like little strips, that we hold over the test tube. Normally you would dip it in, and then they change their color, okay? And then you use that color to find out, if the color is red, it's acid, right? If it's red. And then if it's neutral, it stays green or it is green. Sometimes these strips have a color to begin with. And if it's basic, it becomes blue. Okay? So your task is at the beginning, in the first part, to find out what acidity level the various things have. We also need to use steering rods, so use those. Once we fill in chemicals in here, we need to steer things, and you put the used ones over there. Okay, in case you can't find where to drop the steering rod, it's only going into this thing. So it only allows you to drop it into the used steering rods. Here's our pH testing setup. We're going to grab this with the forceps. Okay, that's another gotcha. Okay, you hold your hand there and nothing allows you to grab those things, right? So take the forceps, okay, and then you dip it into various solution. Use forceps. I just said that. Hover over the test tube will show that. If the color doesn't change, so remember, light green, it stays light green. Okay, then it's neutral. And then you can pin it, apparently. Okay, what they mean is up here, you can put it up here. But you do one at a time anyhow, and you discard the old ones. Okay, so don't reuse one. Once it's used, okay, we're going to do that in a second. Just want to keep things separate. There's a timer here that you start. Once you start it, you get this code apparently, right? So control copy allows you to copy the code. Or you type it. I think I like better control copy because that allows you to not make a typo. Okay, and then you paste it into this item that has a J, letter J, right? We have item A, B, C, D, J, and save it. Okay, so when we start that timer, it's when things happen. Okay, so 48 hours works. Okay, will not affect the result. So it can get longer, but at least you need the 48 hours in between. Okay, so after you start this timing clock, be sure to paste that code in there. It's one of the most common mistakes that students make. Does the computer need to stay on? No. It lives out there. It digests on its own. Very good question. So you can log out and you go to the same link, and when you pick it up on the second day after you waited the 48 hours, this one you cut and paste your code back in. And then it continues with your setup on that at that time. Good question. And you're going to look at the test tubes. A zoom function might help there, but I showed you how it should look like. You don't necessarily need the zoom function, but you want to find out which of the test tubes showed basically the egg white disappear, because then we know it's digested. Tomorrow I would wait until Thursday, 48 hours. 24 would be tomorrow, Michael, so you need to take a break. Make sense? We ask you to do a screenshot. Can we do a screenshot? I want to check on that one. Let me check that when we bring up the lab report. I think I haven't seen a screenshot space there. Or maybe I have. I worked on different versions. I apologize. So let's look at that. If you need to take a screenshot, that's the answer, snipping tool, or any other sort of tool. You can always go to screenshot.org. That has screenshot.org that has various software, all the screenshots tool in there, and that's for the second day that we answered those questions. what if I do not get the results, but I think I should. Okay. If you made a mistake with the liquids, right, that's one source of error. If you poured in the wrong liquid or you didn't rinse out the graduated cylinder, then you don't get expected results. After the lessons, after thinking about it in the first part, you should know what to expect on the second day. Okay. Definitely have to save that code. Explaining again, use these keywords, make me happy, make yourself happy. I think some of you learned already. It's part of learning to write this way. Okay, all of a sudden you feel like, hey, I'm a real scientist. I use all this language I haven't used before. Okay, so try to bring it up to that level. Okay. Okay, and you can always send me KMails. I'm sure I'm getting about 10 of them in this lab, because those of you who will not write the code down and those of you who will not rinse the graduated cylinders. I let you work on that. I'd rather show you the lab. And this is more or less answering things. It would be more appropriate probably if I were to do this tutoring after we've done the lab and you have some sort of experience that we do this, right? But this is pretty straightforward. For me, it's 3:13, so I apologize again. I wanted to be consistent. We go with the first day of the lab. Okay, have fun. So let's hop to the lab. I need a browser. Share the desktop. Luckily, I have it cleaned up, almost clean. Get this thing away. I let it hang there. Oh, I need to get to the lab. Bring the browser here. Oh, I have all kinds of stuff here. Oh, not the lab. So let's bring it up. Then the lab report. And I hope you made a little slot here on Unit 3 key terms for pepsin, huh? In the meantime, while I'm working, bringing this up, can anybody search for what pepsin is so we can find a good definition for it and put it in there? Look for what pepsin is. You can go Google search or Bing or whatever is out there. A short definition. It shouldn't be endless long, right? And if you have it, put it in the chat box. Now I have the lab even here. And I put that in the chat box too. But you can find that anyhow. So here's the lab. So we're looking for pepsin. What is pepsin? Anybody found a good definition for it? I'll go back to the words. Here's the lab. And we should bring up the key terms here. Hops up to the other side. Okay, what my class? We go down to P, Pep, C, K, L, M, N, O. Go around here. Pepsin. And what can we write that? Michael, what did you find us? Go back there. Hey Taylor, Mito, no problem. Okay, you're here now. You're just coming to the time where we're starting with the enzyme. It's an enzyme that breaks down proteins in smaller parts called peptides, right? That's a good definition. So grab those, or this definition. I think you see my whole desktop, and we'll put it in here. Okay. So we know proteins, and egg white is protein basically, and that's its job. It's an enzyme, so a catalyst that lowers the activation energy and that breaks it down into the smaller particles, smaller peptides. Okay. So add that to your list of ketones. You need it in the lab too. So now that I have the lab up, boom. And I'm going blind now, meaning I don't see the chat box. So give me a little bit, I do a demo here, and then I check the chat box, okay? That's what I mean, I'm going blind. So you're going to do the tutorial. It's pretty helpful. It lets you manipulate it yourself in case you get stuck or you wonder, well, how I did this. I'll just begin the lab. And I pick yellow. Yellow. Oh, click start. All right, here's our whole surface area, work area. Right here's the pH strip. We just looked at everything here. There is a bunch of beakers down here. This set of 4, we don't need that set of 4, so don't be tricked. So as well as we don't need the pepsine solution and not the, what else do we not need? Oh, the milk, right? This was from another lab. All we need to start is, and I scroll down a little bit here, is this set of test tubes. So the first thing is we need to fill in water. And so you take the dropper of water, you click on it, and then you go up to water. You fill it up and you put it in the graduated cylinder. And you need to do this 4 times. And if you want, you can follow along with me now, but the pace, it might be a bit too fast. Well, we can take our time. I want to see if, well, I want to put it back down. I'm going to put it back in here. I want to see if someone wants to follow along, slowing down then. So who of you is trying to do it at the same time I'm doing it? Give me a yes or a green check. Let's do green checks. Give me a green check if you want to do it the same pace. The link is in the Word document, that's right. And I send it to you too. Green check. So you guys want to follow along. So now, if that's the case, I need to see your chat because I need to always check where you are. And I need to set it up like that. All right, so let's try. I think we have enough time to do that. So now I see both things. All right, now first question. Oh, you fill up the 4 cylinders as well. Okay, so you want to try, and so now I raised the chats here. I want you to, we have filled up now the, how come? Okay, now we filled up the graduated cylinder with water. Are you guys all there? Give me a green check if you have filled up the graduated cylinder with water. I made a little mistake here because I didn't fill it up to 10 milliliters, so I need to get 1 more drop of water here, 1 more dropper. So that's important. We need to be up at 10. Mine's at 10. Good. Someone's paying attention. Nita, are you trying to? Oh, she's away. Okay, so you guys try to follow along. So we have filled up the cylinder. Oh, yeah. Okay. With 10. So now you grab the cylinder here, and we go over and pour it just in the first one. So watch where the arrow points, right? This would be a mistake. Don't put it everywhere. We need to get it in there where water is. So you just see the arrow, and then you click your mouse, and it pours it in. And I already made a mistake here. We forgot the egg white. Dang it. I was so excited. Okay, let's see if we can wing it here. Okay, here's, by the way, our egg. I just clicked on it, and it chopped itself into pieces. You see that? Thank you. Peter is paying attention. Thank you. That happens. But I hope you saw on the far right side where the egg is, and I just clicked on it, and it chopped itself into pieces. We need to get that spoon and put the egg in all beakers. And it doesn't matter now. We can put it on top of the water, too. So you take the spoon, and that's really fun because you don't make a mess. In real life, you don't have to clean up. In real life, everything is all over the place. Well, there are some crumbs left. Okay, don't try to scoop them up. You just put the scooper down. Okay, so now we have actually the egg in there, right? Let me check whether we're there again. Give me green checks if you have the egg in there and at least the water filled in. We have 2. Nita is trying to do it. It is a link that's in the instructions, Nita, in the lab report. Yeah, it's a website. You're going to get to that by following it. I can't find my doc for some reason. Here's the link. Thank you, Miro. And the report I pushed out earlier, so you can go back up to the file transfer library. File transfer. Otherwise, I can send it to you at the end of the recording again. And it's also in the lesson. So we're cool now. Now we need to do the pepsine thing. And we just had the graduated cylinder with water, so we don't need to clean it out. It's just water. But we go up here and we do the pepsin solution, and we do 4 of those guys. Slurp. Oops. Slurp. 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 4. Okay. I don't know if what happens if you put 5. Can you pour it out? Leave it at 4. That was me. So now we get the pepsin solution and hold it right over the test tube that shows the arrow where the pepsin should go in. So these are sources of error. If you fill it in the wrong one, right, watch it carefully where you put it in, right? So now there's also one thing we need to do is we need to stir, okay? The stirrers are up here. So we take one of these stirrers, and yeah, let's stir the water, but it doesn't do any chemical reaction. This is a control, right, the water. But we put it in here, and you hear it stir. You can stir again, and you put it into the use stirring rods. Well, just to be complete. We stir the water too. I stir it twice. I hope you hear the stirring thing. Okay, let me check. Any questions, or are we there? Did you guys stir and we have the pepsin in there and the water in there? Stir once or twice. I just like it. It's a good sound. Stirring action. Meter is in lead. Michael, are you there with the 2 filled in? No. Esma, Anita, are you trying to do the lab too? Esma, you're going to do it later, right? Oh, you're catching up. Good. Don't, if you go too fast, you might miss something. Okay, so you're a little bit behind too, but at least 2 students, right? Okay, so now there's one thing we need to do, because we just, what was the last thing we had, this graduated cylinder? What stuff did we have in there? Pepsin, so it's contaminated. So water is not contaminated, but now it's contaminated. So we grab it and we put it under the sink. How cool is that? It doesn't come with sound though. I don't know. I can't make the sound of running water. Bloop, bloop, bloop. Okay, we cleaned it up, in other words. Okay, so next thing is we need to put acid. And acid is hydrochloric. So we take this guy. 4 droplets of this one. Slurp, slurp. I hope you hear the sound too. It's like a splashing sound. In reality, you want to avoid these splashes because you want to put these, you know, don't want to lose things. I have to restart. Esma, don't get stressed. It's once you get going, just watch it now. I think it'll be fine. So we have 10 milliliters here of acid. Okay, let's pour in acid here. All right. Again, we have now acid in there, so that's trouble. We need to cleanse it, rinse it out, right? I did just that. Then we go to base, sodium bicarbonate. How many milliliters are we putting in each of them? You can put me that number. How many milliliters are we putting in? 10, right? So when we start mixing things, currently we're just doing one stuff at a time. When we start mixing 2 of them, we're going to put 5 plus 5. It's another source of error. So I put the sodium, the base. You see the base here? This is the base now. Okay. Put that in here. And I just want to, I think some of you need to catch up. I'm going to show you where these instructions are to tell you how much to put in. So here's your lab report. You know, earlier. So here's the whole spiel about the 48 hours, right? And then here's with the instructions. And down here in cylinders 5 and 6, we put 5 milliliters of each. So we're basically down in step F. Okay. Nita gets the hang of it. Okay. You're going to be chemists afterwards. So that's where we are. And then we do the pH. I think we can do that still. So next thing we need to do 5 milliliter plus 5 milliliter. Hope you caught up. Oops. Okay. So now I think I did not rinse it again. That's the one thing that students forget always, to clean up, right? Hey, it even made bubbles now. I can clean it up twice. Always amazed about these things. So next thing we have, we're going to put pepsin plus base. So we're putting 5 milliliters of pepsin in there. So just 2 splashes. Okay, that's good enough. And 5 milliliters of base. It's really realistic lab. I mean, you can't get more realistic than that. And I hope I'm going to put it in the right spot here. And we're going to rinse it out again. Only once. It's not allowed to do it twice. And the last one is we're going to put in pepsin plus acid. So hydrochloric acid. I see some chat, but I try to concentrate here. 1. Hold on, I'll just do that, and then I'll be with you. 2. And I put the pepsin 2 only, right? We're going to only do 5 milliliters plus 5. Yeah, don't forget to rinse. Rinse is important. And thanks for helping out each other. So put that. Because what will happen if we have acid in there before and now we pour in base? It will take away from the base activity, right? It's losing its base thing. And I pour it in. I want to pour it in. Here we go. All right. All right, so we filled in everything. And now we need to measure the pHs. And we have these strips here. So we grab one of the, with the forceps. Let me check first. Who is with me now? Who has filled in all the beakers? Okay, Michael fast. Michael, good. Nadia joined us. Nadia, you probably need to watch the recording. You got something to download. It will help you to get going. Definitely do that. It will benefit you greatly. Maybe I can ask my peers to or your peers to comment. I think it's too early. Okay, you're even there. Look at that. Okay, so we have all the tubes. Now we need to measure the pH. For that, they will take the tweezers. Okay. And it's naturally green. So if it doesn't change, the pH is already at 7. Okay, that's 7 here. Do we get a number here? Oh no, we get the number in the lab report. Okay, the numbers are there. But so naturally it's green. So what if we hold it over water? I'm holding it there and nothing happens. Are you surprised it stays green? Anybody surprised that when I do the pH of water that it stays green? You should not be surprised, because let's hop to the lab report. I'll take that result now. I'll poke it on this board here. Okay. Let's just do another one here. I'm going to grab another piece here, naturally green, and I'm going to skip over to the third one. I hold it over here. Look, ooh, red. Okay. So this was the third one. I skipped the second one just to speed up things. I'll leave a little gap here. I just want to hop over to the lab because it shows you the values of these. Here we go. Okay, so here we got green for the first one, and it's kind of the light green, right? And I think using forceps. Yeah. So that's the instructions are here. So the water does what pH number does water reflect now? I hope I don't have colorblind people. Okay, for the colorblind, please, you exempt for this activity. I have deepest sympathy with you, so let me know. Okay, I had one student so far ever. Okay, I will help you with that. But 7 is the right answer. And then, what did we get for the hydrochloric acid? That's a 1. It's down here. Gastric acid, right? Hydrochloric acid, probably a 3. Anything down here is pretty high concentration on acid. So anything of the reds, you can't be wrong. This is, by the way, what will go in here. You will write down the color strip. So for color 1, it was green, green, and the pH number was 7. And then you need to say, is it acidic, basic, or neutral? And that we know up here, it says right over water, pretty neutral. There's no practice. There is one on the front part, when you enter the lab. Once you're in there, not anymore. But number 3 was the third test tube. What was the color there? Bleach. Where did you see that? The code you're getting in a second. We'll get there. Okay, once we start the timer. Red. So this is, we are red here. And what was the pH? What color? What number? Michael, what did you say? What's between? If you look back in the red, and you can match it up better. I know, I can show the board here. Any of these red ones. 3-ish, yeah. So it says hydrochloric acid, so it's probably fair to use the 3 there. And is that, what environment is that? Acidic, basic, or neutral? Neither use clicking on the link inside the lab report once you download it. Acidic, right? So you're going to say acidic. Okay. And you're going to fill in this whole table like that. And I want to come, and we can still do it, but I want to start with the timer thing because I think that's most important. You're going to fill in that table. I want to see, place to stop. Did we ask you? Oh, I think on the second day there might be some insert a screenshot. So yeah, now I have it straight. I played with the first day, so or day 3, 48 hours later. After 48 hours, you take a screenshot of this whole setup. Let me put the tweezers down. Tweezers down. Oh, here we go. So take a screenshot of these guys. The water, these things. And by the way, at the end, before we let it sit, right, 48 hours, you don't want water to evaporate, evaporize, go into the air. You're going to put these stoppers on top. So after you did all the pH exercise, you take these stoppers, put them on top, and when you come back then, 48 hours later, you take a screenshot of this guy. Does that make sense? Or your speakers are bad. Maybe you can use earplugs. 20, it's endless long. Yeah, please do a copy and paste. Don't take the risk of. Try to grab this stopper here, and just need to hold over it. Of course, there are instructions on how to zoom in here. You can zoom in closer and far out. And I think you're proficient by that now. We have done that lab a bit. Let's say that's all there is. We have taken down the pH, and now it's time to click the stopwatch, right? And if you click here, start, you get this code. You see that long code here that popped up for me? For you, a different code will start. And I cannot, for the life, oh no, I can get to it from left to right. What's the last letter here? 4RD, it's a C. I do a copy here, and yours should look differently. So you select the code from the left to the right, start with the 4, it needs to get black, and then you swoop it all the way to the right. And I'm curious whether this C or the parenthesis, if I have that too. Then you do a right click and say copy. Then we go to the lab report, which is here. And there is this nice field up here, and we say paste. Paste. I can't do a paste. Control V. It didn't do the last thingy. So I would just, for my own note, add this one. Okay. There was this last thingy here. I don't know what that is. Is that a C? A Charlie? I pasted it in. Yeah, I click Control V. If you want to make 100% sure, you can also do a screenshot of this guy. Interesting that I couldn't select this last. I think it's the letter Z, ABC. So it's worth putting it in there as a reminder. Let me just put the C here. And I would then try, when I go back in first, just this letter combination. And if it doesn't work, then I include this one. And if that doesn't work, I will include this one. Does that make sense? Do you guys also see this C or right left parenthesis? Yep, you see it too. So it might not be part of the code. Okay, so I would give it a try first with these letters that we just cut and paste, right? Only after you're done. Okay, and if you, for one reason or the other, click now start and you didn't do the PHs, you probably can do the PHs then on when you come back. Okay, you can, or now you can open it up one more time. But once you leave the lab, is kind of the clock started. And you need to wait 48 hours. Let me try to see. What if I forgot to do the PH? Okay, say I forgot. I said here. It actually didn't start the clock. That's funny too. Okay. What if I forgot? Can I open up? Oh, let me open up this guy. I get the stopper out. Okay. I'm going to grab some forceps. So I don't want you to start over again just because you clicked now start and maybe didn't do the PH. So you can still do the PH. Yeah, it works. So you can still do the PH now, just need to take down the stoppers again. Yeah, it's interesting. The clock really didn't start, right? Not everything is perfect. Here we go. Here, where can we drop it? Here. Try to find a place to drop the thing. Yeah, the clock really didn't start, but I think maybe because I didn't click OK. No, it doesn't do. It really doesn't start. It just gives you the code. How about that for a surprise? But it never started. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Fake clock, yeah. It just gives us a password. I think they designed the clock first and then came up with the password idea, and now it doesn't do anything. Reset, always the same thing. Just make sure you write this thing down. Okay, and I would for now assume that this last thingy here after the MMZ is nothing, but if it doesn't work, put in a Charlie. I think it's ABC or parentheses. It's a D? It's a D? Could be. You know, is that a D? You know what could be that I zoomed in? Let me see. No. But it's a funny effect. Do you see that? Depending on the zoom level on the browser, it showed up. So it didn't show up here. And I go to 100% now. Where's the equal sign? So this is 100%, yeah, or 110. Yeah, it doesn't show up at 100%. So it's not. It was an artifact. So ignore that weird thing. But it happens to be if you zoom in, it popped up. And then it disappeared again. Anyhow, funny things happen, huh? Look, I was just unluckily at that zoom level of 125, and there's this extra thingy popping up here. Didn't know about that. Okay, so set it maybe to zoom level on your browser to 100%, or to the default. Then it's just, I think it's, I'm pretty sure now. There's no D there, you know. I think it's an artifact. It's like a computer glitch, because if I zoom in, it will pop up. So try without the D. Make sense? So after 48 hours. Yeah. So this is interesting. It was the first time I played with this thing, with the zoom levels. And I think with that, we didn't get to answer the questions, but this is what you can do definitely today on day one now. Is go down here and answer these two things. Write a hypothesis. So which test tube do you think will show the most digestions? Write an if-then statement. And actually, I give you the sentence frame here. If the stomach contains what, then the test tube number will show the most suggestion because. And you might have to go back to the lesson or a little bit more research, but this you can do now, right? And then what are variables in this lab? Remember, variables, the things that we either can control, which is an independent variable, or a dependent variable, which is something we cannot control. Oh, there's another question. What things remain constant? Okay. What do you guys have any suggestion there? What are the things that remain constant among the 6 test tubes? And I think of 2 things. When you look at the 6 test tubes, our experiment, what is constant? I'll let you think a little bit on that while I go back. We're having fun. Need to navigate to number 1. Due on the 7th, yes. I just want to get back. Does anybody thought about what are the variables that stay constant? Then I can. If you think of these 6 test tubes, what doesn't change among the test tubes? What do you mean with proteins? You know, egg, yeah. So, but what is it about the egg that is constant? We put in egg everywhere. That's right. You were very close. But what is constant there among the test tubes? And it's maybe too obvious. How much egg did we put in there? Let's come back to the egg. A spoonful of egg. So we basically put in every test tube the same amount of egg, right? So the amount of egg we put in was constant. Give me another thing that was constant among all the 6 test tubes. What other thing did we keep constant? Well, pepsin we put in certain test tubes, right? But it's something about this, what we put in. So we know that the amount of egg we put in was constant. What other things was constant? That's the egg, Michael, that's true. 10 milliliter, very good. And why do you say 10 milliliter? 10 milliliter of things, Michael, right? So the volume of liquid added was constant. And there's one more thing that's constant in this experiment, something that is that we really emphasized. How do we measure in the tubes with no numbers? You have droppers. Every time you use a dropper, you only use the clock, right? It's the time, right? The time when we look at it is the same for all test tubes, right? So you make me a nice sentence out of that, and you have an answer for that one. I think you deserve that because you joined the lesson. I'm a little bit over time. I actually turn it off now, the recording. But where are we here? It's zoomed in so much. How do you get the zoom level back? I would like to show you the first page. I don't know, restore layout. Where's my page now? Oh, it's under there. Just to wrap things up. Can't get my vacuum going here. I think we did a good job on the key terms. Maybe spent too much time on the presentation, but definitely I think I got the first part done on the lab. And those of you who were here, you have you have an advantage because you're going to turn in that lab on Thursday when the 48 hours are over, because you know what to do in the first part pretty well. And so thanks for joining. I'm still staying here. I'm just turning off the recording. And everybody else, I hope you watch that recording before you do the lab, and otherwise you either have a harder time and you have to resubmit or many questions, and you can email me anytime anyhow. Goodbye.